In the evening of April 28, 2001, in Kansas City, Missouri, a chilling discovery would change the lives of many forever. Police were initially dispatched to search for an elderly man who had gone missing in the area near Hibbs Park, a wooded spot on 59th Street and Kensington Avenue. However, what they stumbled upon was far more horrifying than anyone could have anticipated. A small, lifeless, decapitated body, abandoned in the woods, looked like a toddler. The discovery immediately raised questions. Who was this child? Why was she left in such a gruesome state, with no signs of being reported as missing? The police soon realized that they were dealing with a case unlike any they had encountered before. Despite the horrific nature of the crime, no one seemed to be looking for a missing child. As they examined the body, the investigators struggled to make any headway. The child appeared to be between 3 to 6 years old, but beyond that, there were no leads, no missing reports, and no one who came forward to identify her. What could have driven someone to commit such an unimaginable act? What kind of person could be capable of such brutality, especially against a child so small and vulnerable? This is the story of a girl called Precious Doe. The investigation and community effort. On May 1, 2001, just days after the initial discovery, investigators found the missing head of the child, wrapped in plastic, about 2 where her body had been discovered. This confirmed that both the body and head belonged to the same child. However, the mystery deepened as no one had reported a missing child, and there were no leads to identify her. With no further information, the investigation stalled. The police were left with unanswered questions. How could a child disappear unnoticed? Why had no one reported her missing? In the absence of a name, the community gave her the name Precious Doe, symbolizing both the mystery of her identity and the collective sorrow of the city. Kansas City residents and volunteers quickly mobilized, posting flyers, making calls, and spreading the word. National and local media picked up the story, urging anyone with information to come forward, but no one could identify her. The police created composite sketches, but still, there were no new leads. As the weeks passed, the case grew colder. Investigators worked tirelessly, but every tip proved fruitless. The case became one of the city's most baffling mysteries. The community, however, refused to give up. Vigil after vigil was held in Precious Doe's memory, with people of all backgrounds coming together to honor her. Despite the lack of progress, the search continued. The case even appeared on America's Most Wanted and Cold Case files, keeping the public's focus on the mystery. Over time, the name, Precious Doe, became a symbol of both grief and determination. Even without knowing her identity, Kansas City had adopted her as one of their own, refusing to let her memory fade. The haunting question remained, who was this little girl? And even more disturbing, who could be so cruel as to do this to her? The forensic sculpting effort. In 2003, after the case had gone cold, investigators turned to an innovative method to try and uncover Precious Doe's identity: forensic sculpting. The police and forensic experts knew that the only way to move forward was to bring the little girl's face back to life. Despite the lack of leads, with no solid clues to follow, the team enlisted the help of Mary Manheim, a forensic anthropologist, and her team at the Faces Lab at Louisiana State University, specializing in recreating faces from skeletal remains. On July 15, 2003, Precious Doe's body was exhumed, and her skull was sent to Louisiana. Manheim and her team began their work by carefully analyzing the skull and conducting detailed examinations. They discovered that the child, based on her bones, was closer to 3 or 4 years old, rather than the originally assumed age range of 3 to 6. Manheim and her colleagues also found signs of trauma on the child's skull, suggests she had been severely beaten before her death. These injuries included multiple oval-shaped cuts on her scalp, indicating blunt force trauma, which gave investigators crucial insight into the abuse the child had suffered. Once the skull was fully examined, it was handed over to Eileen Barrow, a skilled forensic artist, who began the complex task of sculpting a bust based on the bone structure. Barrow used a chart developed by the Faces Lab to determine the tissue depth for different areas of the face, taking into account the child's age, sex, and ethnicity. The sculpting process combined both science and artistry, as Barrow carefully applied clay over the skull, building the face layer by layer. paying close attention to the details that could help bring the child's image to life. The process took days, as every feature had to be meticulously crafted to reflect the unique features of the child, as indicated by the bones. The sculpting was done with a sense of precision, as the bust had to be as accurate as possible to increase the chances of someone recognizing her. Once the bust was completed, it was aired on television, hoping that someone might recognize the face of this unknown child. Despite generating a lot of interest and receiving numerous tips, none of them led to an immediate breakthrough. The bust did provide a clearer image of Precious Doe, however, and gave the public something tangible to connect to. For the first time, the child no longer remained just a nameless victim. She had a face that the world could see. Yet, despite the visibility of the bust and the growing media coverage, her identity still remained a mystery. The forensic efforts, though unsuccessful in the immediate aftermath, brought new hope to the investigation. They represented the determination of the investigators and the community to uncover the truth. The discovery of the abuse, combined with the creation of the bust, became a symbol of the relentless pursuit of justice for a child who had been lost, both to her family and the world. The creation of the bust was a vital part of keeping the case alive. And although it didn't immediately solve the mystery, it played a crucial role in the eventual identification of Precious Doe. Alonzo Washington's determined pursuit. In 2005, a pivotal moment in the case came through the dedicated efforts of Alonzo Washington, a community activist who had never stopped fighting for justice for the young girl known as Precious Doe. Washington determined to keep the case alive and took action in the spring of that year by placing an advertisement in the Kansas City Call, a prominent African-American newspaper. The ad featured a forensic bust of the child, created by forensic artist Eileen Barrow, which had been crafted to provide a more lifelike image of the victim. Along with the bust, Washington included a plea for anyone with about the child's identity to come forward. The ad was a last-ditch effort to reignite public interest in the case, and on April 30, 2005, it finally paid off. Washington received an unexpected phone call from a man in Muskogee, Oklahoma. The man claimed to have information that could solve the case. He revealed that the child was Erica Green, the daughter of Michelle Johnson and Harold Johnson. The caller had overheard conversations from Michelle while she was under the influence of drugs, and detailed the circumstances of Erica's death. He confirmed that Harold Johnson had been responsible for her death, and Michelle had been complicit. Washington immediately forwarded this tip to investigators, and within hours, police began questioning Michelle and Harold Johnson. Michelle was now confronted with the truth, and she confessed to her involvement in the murder. Thanks to Washington's persistence and the tip that broke the case wide open, Erica Green was finally identified, and justice was on the horizon. This crucial lead was the breakthrough investigators had been waiting for, and it marked the beginning of the end of the mystery that had haunted the community for years. Erica's early life and the Johnsons' relationship. Erica Green's early life was marked by instability and neglect. Born on May 15, 1997, in McLeod, Oklahoma, Erica's biological mother was incarcerated for theft and forgery when she was 8 months pregnant. Erica's biological father, Larry Green, was also serving a sentence. Unable to care for her newborn, Michelle contacted Betty Brown, a family friend, who agreed to take custody of Erica. Betty raised Erica as her own, providing her with love and stability, while Michelle was in prison. Michelle's visits were infrequent, and she showed little interest in taking Erica back until years later, when Erica was around 3 years old. In 2001, after Michelle was released from prison, she became involved with Harold Johnson, a man who had his own troubled past. Michelle moved in with Harold in Muskogee, Oklahoma. The couple, both unemployed and struggling with drug addiction, decided to take Erica to Kansas City, claiming they wanted to visit a family reunion. However, they never planned to return Erica to Betty. Harold and Michelle's relationship was marked by volatility, often fueled by drug abuse, which only worsened after they moved to Kansas City. Erica, who had known only the care and affection of Betty, struggled to adjust to her new environment. Harold became increasingly harsh, and Erica was subjected to his anger. She often cried, wanting to return to Betty. Despite this, Michelle stayed in the relationship with Harold, and their actions toward Erica grew more cruel. April 2001, the abuse had reached its tragic peak. On the evening of April 28, Harold, under the influence of PCP, became enraged when Erica refused to go to bed. He kicked her violently, knocking her unconscious. Michelle, who was present, did not intervene. Rather than seeking medical help, the couple decided to let Erica die. After several hours, they left her body in a bedroom and later disposed of it in the woods, where Harold decapitated Erica with hedge clippers to hinder identification. They discarded her body and head, hoping to conceal their crime. When Michelle was questioned, she initially lied about Erica's whereabouts, telling Harold's cousin that Erica had been taken back to Oklahoma. However, when confronted, Michelle confessed, detailing the abuse and the events leading to Erica's death. She explained how Harold's violent actions led to Erica's unconsciousness, and how they failed to seek medical help, ultimately resulting in her death. After Michelle and Harold Johnson's confessions, the case moved swiftly toward the trial stage. Despite the brutality of their actions, Haronson remained defiant, attempting to manipulate Michelle into changing her testimony. From jail, Harold sent Michelle numerous letters, initially pleading with her to alter her statement and deny the details of his involvement. When it became clear that Michelle was not going to back down, his tone changed, shifting from pleading to threats. He threatened Michelle with harm if she testified against him, further showcasing his lack of remorse and his continued effort to control the narrative of their crime. Despite Harold's attempts to manipulate the situation, Michelle's resolve remained firm. She agreed to testify against Harold, willing to take responsibility for her role in the crime, even though she had tried to protect him initially. Her testimony in court would serve as the key to understanding the full extent of the abuse Erica suffered at the hands of both parents. Michelle described how Harold's anger had escalated, how he had violently kicked Erica, leading to her unconsciousness, and how they had failed to seek medical attention, ultimately allowing Erica to die alone. In the face of Michelle's testimony and Harold's confession, the trial proceeded. Michelle pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and other charges related to her actions in the death of Erica. She was sentenced to 25 years in prison. While her sentence was seen as a measure of justice, many felt that the true punishment for her role in the death of her daughter could never be enough to undo the damage done. Harold Johnson's trial came later, and the evidence against him was overwhelming. His brutal actions, his lack of remorse, and his attempts to manipulate Michelle all painted a clear picture of the kind of man he was. The jury found Harold guilty of first-degree murder, child abuse, and endangering the welfare of a child. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Harold continued to maintain that he had not premeditated Erica's death, but the evidence, especially Michelle's testimony, proved otherwise. His lack of remorse and his repeated attempts to shift the blame highlighted the cruelty of his actions. The tragic case of Erica Green, known to the world as Precious Doe, is a haunting reminder of the vulnerabilities faced by children and the consequences of systemic failures. Erica's story is not just one of unimaginable loss, but also of resilience, as the community and dedicated individuals like Alonzo Washington fought tirelessly to uncover her identity and ensure justice was served. Despite the horrific abuse and neglect she suffered, Erica's memory has sparked legal reforms and brought attention to the importance of protecting children born to incarcerated parents. The lesson from Erica's case is clear: no child should ever be forgotten, and it is our collective responsibility to safeguard the most vulnerable members of society. The failure to act, the failure to see the signs of abuse, and the failure to protect children like Erica highlight the urgent need for accountability in both family systems and public institutions. Her story is a call to action for better policies, stronger safeguards, and a society that refuses to let injustice go unchecked. Erica's legacy, though born from tragedy, will live on as a reminder of the importance of compassion, vigilance, and the unwavering pursuit of justice for every child, no matter their circumstances.